Is there such a thing as a usable and scalable all-in-one educational software package?
I think, when I look at what we have in place at our school, a number of different systems, I can't imagine any one package actually accomplishing it all for all schools. So I think at the core, you need to really be thinking about how do you have different packages that communicate with each other. And I think as much as it's all about the connections between the hubs and the spokes of your software environment that really matter. And if you were to have a company do all of it, it would tend to be mediocre, and it wouldn't be able to pick up trends as rapidly as having something that's easy to plug into.
So this notion of just going, buying, implementing, and off you go.
Yeah, I think
doesn't really work
even when you look at the big players in that space, it's not turnkey. It's still a year or two of implementation. Absolutely, and especially if you're switching from an existing system to a new system, and you have all that data that you need to keep and move into your new paradigm.
So you're going to go through a process anyways. Might as well go through one that's scalable for you. How does looking at software through the eyes of a teacher and a student shape the implementation?
Yeah, I think when you look at when you're designing software, and I've done a couple bad examples myself, you tend to design what you wanted to have as a student. And I think I always use the analogy of being a waiter. So if you've ever waited in a restaurant, you realize that even though you've eaten in restaurants your whole life, you really had no idea how they worked and how they operated. And you come at it thinking, well, I was the only table. And really the waiter's managing his connection with the kitchen, the bar, the 8 other tables they may have going on. And I felt the exact same way when I started teaching, which is I've been in schools forever. I've been in many different schools, and I had no idea. It doesn't mean that you need to be a teacher to develop software for schools, but you need to somehow empathize with what it's like to have 100 plus kids, 180 days a year. So there's really simple things. The one I always use is we built an attendance system at our school, and we pre-select present, which is a simple thing, right? But if you do the math, it saves each teacher in our school 13,000 clicks a year.
Right.
And we're a small school, so
that's a huge deal.
And you might argue that if it's pre-selected present, people aren't going to actually mark people absent because they'll be lazy. But if you trust teachers to be professionals, then you can save an immense amount of time.
That's really interesting. Kind of along those lines, what do you feel are the keys to faculty and student adoption? Is it sort of thinking through those types of things?
Pretty much, and I think one of the things, and especially open source software is more able to do this, is that you have to go bottom up and top down at the same time. So there's a bunch of projects out there, and even some proprietary ones like Edmodo do this as well, whereas if you're a teacher, you can get a free account, you can start using it right away in your classroom. It persists for the term, and it's the real package. And then the upsell is to get the school to buy something that manages all these teachers doing this account. The top-down one, which is the more traditional way, is you sell the administration, they build a plan, they do trainings, and then they tell teachers to use the product. And if you do both at the same time, then you have a good chance of enrolling the teachers and enrolling the administration. And it only works if both parties want it to work.
Right.
Either one of those can, it's like the UN, either one of them can veto the project.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. So last question for you. You work at an independent school, is that correct? Do you feel that independent schools are in a unique position to act kind of as a research and development hub for all of education?
Absolutely. And I think that they don't now. And there's this odd rift between the public sector and the private sector in terms of schools, and which is odd because a lot of private school teachers will then go teach in public, and we have a bunch of former public school teachers at our school. So it's not like we aren't doing the same thing and aren't friendly about it, but there's somehow this, it's almost like a Democrat-Republican, except there's no political association with you at the right, but it's like this, they're all politicians, but why are they not connecting? But we even have the same goals where they might have different goals. And so I think independent schools they're much quicker to iterate, much more agile, have far fewer restrictions on what they implement and what they're beholden to. And at the same time, the public schools are much better at efficiency. They're much better at reaching masses of students. They have a much greater reach because they're free. And so there's a great opportunity for independent schools to mess up a bunch, start to float to the surface things that work, and then get that information transferred over to the big time, and then have them really hone it and make it efficient, while we continue to build new projects and stuff like that.
It's the agile teams of education.
Yeah, I think it's almost, I read a bit about how Toyota developed the Prius and how they sent a team off completely separate from the company. And if you think of education as one big group and independent schools being sort of in their own little islands.
It's already there.
It's already there, right?
Yeah.
So why not take advantage and have the channels of communication go back and forth?
Interesting. Well, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate you taking the time.